say, woohoo! How's your week? How's my gals and the guys who watch Bin around the world? I want to say thank you so much. So many of you have reached out to me privately on my email, which I'm very grateful for, and told me that you do go back and share them from the other site. So I am so appreciative. It means a lot to me. Oh, she's already here. The gods let her in. The internet gods. Shana's in the house. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. It's a little bit broken up. I don't know as far as the internet, so maybe we can, clear the air. There you go.
Get the gods to play along. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to the universe. All right. How are you? First of all, gorgeous.
I'm good. How are you?
I know you got a lot
Good to see your
of
face.
deadlines going on, a lot of good things happening.
I do. I do.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
before, I don't want,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm writing an article. Yeah, I'm writing we were just talking about this, but I'm writing an article for Emerge magazine and it's due tomorrow. So no time like the present to make sure it's all wrapped up and submitted on time.
So we're shout out to our friend Allison. So she's going to come with her
Yeah.
laptop and work on her. Okay.
Yeah.
Got to do what you got to do. All right.
Yeah.
Can I tell them a little bit about
Yep.
you? By the way, your last name, Francesca?
One and it's
But it is a good picture. Yeah, you froze. I was telling you that your name, Francesca, is one of my favorite things to say.
It is fun to say, for sure.
Yeah. Shana Francesca. All right, anyhow, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a speaker, a writer, and an entrepreneur. Her work centers around intentional leadership and life design. Shana believes our present and future are transformed when we infuse our lives with intention design. With intention, design our lives and realize the power in accepting ourselves as the authority of our story. Now, we've had the pleasure of hanging out, so I know a little bit about you. But I want to dive in, which I think is a hoot, to your little statement, which I tried to tell my cats this. Curiosity does not kill the cat. Now, I want you to keep in mind, Jada,
Yeah.
I do have 5 cats and a dog.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
But I
Let's
love to
build
say to
on this.
people that, curiosity did not kill the cat. It made the cat and the dog best friends. Right? I
Ooh.
mean, yeah, yeah. It's a matter of approaching, because wrapped up in curiosity, I mean, and part of my intentional leadership philosophy is that curiosity and respect go hand in hand, right? Because respect without curiosity is uneducated, and curiosity without respect is intrusive, right? So they go hand in hand together. So when we're approaching somebody or something with curiosity, we're also bringing
Mm.
along with it respect. We're also bringing along with it the vulnerability to admit that we don't know, right? I don't know. I'm open to learning, right? Instead of coming from the place of expert, we're coming from the place of wanting to know more, of respect, of kindness,
Ooh.
of graciousness to ourself and the other person, right? There's so much, and playfulness too, right? Wrapped up in curiosity is also playfulness and exploration and innovation and creativity, right? All of these stem from curiosity. So it is deeply important for us and our joy to stay in a place of curiosity, but also as leaders, it's necessary for creativity and innovation.
You know, that, that makes me think of this young man that I interviewed yesterday for my podcast, Let's Keep It Real. And he reached out to me, people reached out to be on the show. And on surface, it looked like, okay, we're a great match. He's into wellness, he's into well-being. And then I looked at his Instagram
Mhm.
and I thought, hoochie mama. I mean, this is not normally the kind of guest I would bring on. And he had a real, let's just say, edge, much younger, whatever. And a lot of my colleagues were like, I don't think you should bring him on. This is not. But then I sat down with my son and goes, Mom, I know you'll be able to make it work. And I'm so glad, because I was just curious about him. And I tried to clear my mind and say, well, let me open up and tell him who the audience is, who the show. And he was magnificent and so respectful. And if I didn't have curiosity, I would have not done that. I would have just not been able to have that great opportunity. Yeah. And I have to tell you, it was iffy, because some of his Instagrams, I was like, whew, eesh. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing we have to remember is there's so much nuance in life, and when we're looking at a singular moment, a photo is a singular moment. It's a fraction of a moment, right? It doesn't even give us the context of a moment. I think sometimes it can be easy when we don't know someone out of context to just judge based on photos and assume a certain avenue or aspect of someone is who they are singularly. And no one is one thing, right? And no one wants to be seen as just one thing. We want to be seen and honored and understood for the complexity and the nuance that is who we are. And so I'm glad that you had him on as a guest. Some people judge the same. Some people do the same thing with photos of me. I've had people in the past just assume all kinds of things about me from photos that they found online. I was, attacked verbally by a man who said, well, there's photos all over you, of you all over the internet. So why would I listen to you? I'm like, there's photos all over me on the internet, so why would you listen to me? What you're talking about is your own objectification of the female body, and you're talking about the male gaze, and you're not actually talking about me at all. You're talking about your judgment, right? And so I think it goes back to your point, is when we approach with curiosity, we can say, I can recognize in my conscious mind that these photos do not give me the entire context of who a human being is, right? A human being, a whole walking, talking, intelligent human being. They're not going to give me that context, and I'm going to lean in. I'm going to let somebody tell me who they are rather than me judging who they are based on photos, right?
Yeah. Well, this was a step further. These were reels with opinions that I usually, they were reels, and they were opinions that I normally don't align with. But I'm so glad, because we actually aligned with more than I thought. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you think you're so far apart, but once you get to know someone,
you're not as far apart as you think, for most cases, right? I mean, for me to enter into any conversation or to enter into, my own boundary in my life is that someone has to agree with me on basic human rights and bodily autonomy for all people. And then we can enter into a conversation. We don't have to agree on anything else, but we do have to agree on basic human rights and bodily autonomy. And the reason for that is because if you don't agree with those things, it's not likely that you see me as a whole human being. And it's also not likely, it's also very likely that if you disagree with me, you will find a way to dehumanize and objectify me throughout the conversation in order to shut me down or to, disenfranchise me from the conversation. And so to maintain, we have to start at that place, right? We have to start with basic human respect and trust and honesty. And we can't do that if we don't agree that everybody should be treated the same as a human being.
Ooh, that's a whole nother podcast, but I'm going to put that over there because I like that. I want to go into, when I first met you, I might have been like a little birdie listening to a conversation you had, and it was so intriguing because you were talking about designing your life, but you also were into designing the home space. So I've been waiting to ask you this on air live. Were you first an interior decorator, or how did you make that leap, and what do the two have to do with one another?
Yeah, so I have a BS in interior design. So the difference between a decorator and an interior designer is education and or like formal and or mentorship, right? So to become an interior designer, you can go to an accredited university and get a Bachelor of Science, or you can be mentored underneath an interior designer for, it's like, 12 years of.
It's freezing, but you look gorgeous when you freeze.
Okay. Thanks. So my background, and trigger warning for anyone listening, just be kind to yourself in this moment. You might want to mute for a few minutes. We're going to talk about abuse and violence and growing up in an abusive household. And so, I grew up in an evangelical Christian cult and an abusive household. My entire life was surrounded by both people and spaces where I could not show up as my whole self. I wasn't even allowed to have a lock on my bedroom door. I wasn't allowed to keep my door closed unless I was getting changed. There was significant control of myself and my body for most of my life, right? From the time that I was about 7 years old is when my parents entered evangelical Christianity. And that's not when they entered the cult. They didn't enter the cult until I was 10, but I was already going to the school that was part of the cult from the time that I was 5, right? So there was ever more strict ideology entering into my household and into my parents, specifically my father's lexicon. And that bled into everything in my life, right? So they started going to church when I was 5, and like 7 is when things got really culty. Um, and alongside of that was my father was abusive. So there was no space in my life where I could be seen, heard, and understood. So my imagination became this place, very Anne of Green Gables style, like talking to yourself in the mirror. Because when you grow up in an abusive household, you're not allowed to share your truth with anyone outside of the household. Otherwise, you will be punished. It could cost you your life. That's not that's not an over exaggeration. That was just the reality that I lived in. And so I began to recognize that whenever things were really bad, my father's mental health would deteriorate, and he would start hoarding, and that oppressive physical environment would cause reactions from all of the rest of us. And then I would like need to clean my bedroom, organize something, rearrange the furniture. I would need to regain some. It was like I was resetting the stage, right? Like it's like between acts of a play, right? You've got to reset the stage to change the tone of people's interpretation, to support the actors in what comes next, right? And it was like I was doing that in my own life. I was resetting the stage so I could come from a place of new possibility rather than what was. I needed physical, like, reminder that things can change, that change is possible, that I had some control. And then I started using the one wall of my bedroom like a vision board, what we call now a vision board. I had quotes all over the walls on index cards. Back then we had physical calendars, right? So I would tear out pages from the calendar, and that had the inspirational quotes and the beautiful fall foliage or whatever it was, and I would put it up on the wall, and I would take the J.C. Penney catalog, and I would circle the things that I wanted to be part of the life that I wanted for myself, that I was creating for myself, or that I was going to create for myself. And then when I was a teenager, and I started reading a lot of books and trying to gain understanding of the world outside of the very strict one that I lived in. However, I was only allowed to read Christian authors, so that didn't help much. But I was able to like sneak in, some literature and some things like Jane Austen, not in any way, Christian, and very feminist. So it was funny that I was allowed to read it. I think probably because my father had never read Jane Austen and didn't know much about her. But found little ways to find insight into the world that were outside of what I was allowed access to. And then I decided I wanted to become an interior designer. And when I did, I came from that place of understanding that our physical environment is a key indicator of our mental health. And is in as many ways a reflection of our beliefs about ourselves. Now, I want to clarify that when I say it's an indication of our mental health, that does not mean that simply because we have a clean, highly orderly environment that our mental health is doing well. That is not what that means, right? It's not a direct correlation in that way, right? But it is a matter of, if our home becomes the practice ground for how we want to show up in the world. And if we don't even feel safe to show up in our own home and to allow who we really want to be authentically, not who other people expect us to be, not how our home should look based on other people's thoughts, wants, needs, desires, but on who we want to be and how we want to be able to show up. If we can't even do that in our own home, it's not likely we're doing it outside of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like there's a story, there was a woman who came up to me after you know, Susie's lunch, right? So
Yeah.
a woman
Yeah.
came up to me, and I had done my introduction. I had been talking about life design, and she came up to me afterwards, and she said, you know, I really find what you said really valuable and interesting. She's like, I'm in the middle of a divorce, and I just got my own place, and I put these posters up on the wall, and I know I need to take them down, and I need to be more intentional with my space. But like, thanks for talking about this. And I was like, hold on. Do you have a minute? Can we talk about this? And I said, what are the posters of? And she's like, they're concerts. And I was like, amazing. Are they concerts you've been to? Bands you love? She's like, yes. I'm like, awesome. Were they on the wall when you were married? She's like, no, I wouldn't put any of that stuff up on the walls. I said, okay. So could it be that those posters remind you of your wild, of who you wanted to be able to show up as, but didn't feel the space to do so? And what if being more intentional about what being more intentional in your environment is actually honoring those posters more, not less, not taking them down? What if it's framing them? What if it's putting them in a specific order or in a specific way that's aesthetically pleasing on the wall? What if you're honoring them more, not less? Because then you're honoring yourself more, not less, right? And that's what I mean. I don't mean that
Gotcha.
we have to show the connection becomes that that being intentional being intentional with our physical environment begins to be that practice ground, so that we can start to train our brain about how to be intentional, so that we can then know how to be intentional in other aspects and more public aspects of our lives. But we have to start somewhere. And if you can start in the small things, what seem to be small, right? Because our brains are really kind of dumb, right? We we just need to take little steps, and we don't have to make big sweeping action. We just take
Yeah.
little steps to train our brain, and in doing so, it starts to recognize patterns, right? And so when we start to create those intentional patterns within our physical environment, we start to be able to recognize how we can be more intentional in all aspects of our life.
You know, I've had a lot of people on here, and you know I'm so into mental health, mental and physical fitness, but I never heard it explained like
I
that. And
know.
I love it.
I know. That's, everyone says that, and they're like, I don't know why no one's ever said that before. I'm like, I don't know either, but I'm saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you say it so eloquently. So here you are now, and you mentioned a lot about intentional leadership and living. And I was reading the longer bio, and I love this because you were talking about, and I want you to expand upon the balance of life, and that here's work and here's personal. Like you're not living when you're working. And I love what I do. So I never thought of having like, okay, this is the third, this is the third, this is the third, you know. I do set up my week and my month to prioritize when's with my family, when am I working on this and that. But it doesn't feel to me like, oh my God, I have to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear so many times what Sandy's referring to is, I hear so many times people say, that they're working for a work-life balance, but the statement inherently implies that we are not living while we're working. And I heard someone say that once, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's the thing. It's what's not spoken in that statement that's so powerful. It's the implied we're not living while we're working. And it's had me in its grip ever since I heard. I don't know who said it. I don't know, but it wasn't me who originated it, so I don't want to take original credit for it.
No.
But the point is that it fit. It was the missing piece. It was the language I didn't have within my work, and I was like, that's it. That's the thing. And National Geographic defines an ecosystem, right, as a geographic area where a variety of organisms are supported by the land and the weather to create a bubble of life. And I say, what if we created our organizations, our corporations, our teams in a way that felt like a bubble of life, so people knew that they were living, that it was an extension of their life and not something separate where they felt like they're slowly dying, right? And that they have to recuperate from. What if our organizations were bubbles of life? And then if we took it further, we could say that leadership becomes the land, right? The vision, the foundational vision, and the support that empowers people to show up as their whole selves. And then what if the environment, the corporate environment, the culture is the weather, right? That helps, right? That helps to support and create that bubble of life. And so when I found that definition, by the way, I was searching everywhere for different definitions of ecosystems, because the dictionary definition, I've combined two weird words. The dictionary definition of ecosystem it just fell so flat for me. And I was like, the definition itself doesn't feel like life-giving, right? And when I found National Geographic, I was like, oh, that's so good. It's so good. Because it should feel like a bubble of life. When it does feel like a bubble of life, people can bring their whole selves. They bring all of their creativity, and that drives innovation, and that drives profitability, right? And we can take that even further to say, you don't see in an ecosystem homogeneity. You don't see singularity of anything. That's not an ecosystem. That's just a whole bunch of one thing, right? So if we want to create a true bubble of life, it requires variety, it requires diversity, and it requires that diversity feeling included, right? And so we can really just take, this the understanding of a corporation being an ecosystem just really starts to drive home what leadership truly can be.
I'm drawing pictures for you. You could probably use this on your marketing site, because I'm a very visual learner. Yeah. So I'm drawing corporations and sun and cloud and trees. Yeah. And it makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
All right. So we got to hold up a little bit here, because I got a few questions from the peeps that they want to ask you. Number one, it was about the vision board. So this woman said she just started a group with creating her own vision board. And she wants to know if you've ever taken a class to design vision boards that you can then frame. Because you were talking about framing and you gave her the idea. Oh, maybe I should.
Oh my God, she could frame it. I've never thought about framing my vision board. I keep them, I do them on foam core. So my vision board is literally in front of my face right now. I do them on foam core, and I change mine a lot. I update them probably once a year, because as I change and grow, so does my understanding of the world and what I want to come from it. So I make alterations. And so, mine are collage style. I've never thought about framing them, but I think that's a brilliant idea. And I love that she took that and it was just ran with it. And it was like, I'm going to frame my vision board. I think that's lovely. That's amazing. I love that.
And for her, it's her big year. Yeah. And she said she still has stickums and stuff. She used stickum notes.
Okay.
Yeah. For her stuff that she's going to change. Yeah. Okay. We are going to get a question. We have one from a couple dudes. We let them in now and then.
Yes, we let them in. We absolutely do. They're included.
So this young man is starting his own business.
Yeah.
And he wants to make sure that he is, quote unquote, we'll call him Billy Bob. I want to be, and he's 28, and he wants to be an awesome leader that his children, he has 2 kids, they're girls, can say, wow, my dad is incredible. I love what he's putting out in the world. But he's never taken any courses. Are there some that you could recommend? Oh, that's so
I mean,
nice.
first of all, I love that. I love that you're thinking about it now. I have a leadership workshop. It's a digital workshop. It's not very expensive. It's $50 and it's a 50-minute presentation, and then it can, extend in. So it talks about and dives more into the concepts that we're talking about here. There's also a recommended reading list along with it. So there's lots of books that I could recommend that you dive into. And there are some, like, people who are doing incredible things. I hesitate to actively recommend too many people because
Yeah.
it can get sticky.
Yeah. But you can start with your course. It's not just for women,
correct.
right?
No,
you can start with your.
My stuff is not just, my stuff is for all people, all genders included.
Okay.
So if you want to, start off by doing my leadership workshop, I think the next one is in August or September. I think I skip.
Okay.
I think actually it might be July and then I skipped August. I don't know. I don't know what I do. I just decide what I feel in the moment, and I do them every month. So whatever month I skip, it'll be the next one. I try to give myself some time off, but I don't even remember what time I gave myself off. So they're posted on my website right now. If you want to go to, you can either click, here, you can, the link in the bio will take you, or it's www.consonant.world. They're already posted for the next couple of months, so you can click into that. Cool. Yeah.
All right. This is from, she says, okay, I love this. I'm old.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
I don't even know what that means.
Just tell Shana I'm old. Okay. So it takes me a little bit to get with the youth. Again, I love the way they say this, is putting down. I love people. I just love my people.
I think they're amazing.
She's moving, downsizing, and wants to make sure her home reflects her. Any recommendations? And I love that, Wait, she's 82.
So during the pandemic, I moved my assistant's grandmother, Ethel. Unfortunately, she just passed recently, but I moved her. She was 86, I think, when we moved her. She just died this past year. I think she was 88 or 89. Like, you got to do what's best for you. You got to keep living your life. So I love that you're doing what's best for you in downsizing. I would say you got to tag the pieces, find the layout of your new place. Tag the pieces in your home that are so precious and important to you that can fit and can come with you, and make sure that you plan around those first, right? The pieces that feel that they represent you, that you feel really connected to who you are, whether it be a piece of art, or it be a tchotchke, or it be, a dresser or a sideboard, whatever it is, right? Just, pick 1 or 2 pieces that are an absolute must come with you, that actually are going to fit, and then plan around those pieces. Bring whatever that you can, that feels aligned with you. But also take this time to get some help to release the things that are no longer serving you. And if you need help with moving, I have a moving company, a company that specifically does move management, that I could recommend, who works in Philly. I don't know where this person is in the world, but she's in Philly. That could absolutely help with that whole process.
Yeah.
Because
it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming. You need someone to help you go through the things and pack up the things and move the things and take care of you in the process. It's something that I have done in coordination with this company before. So I've worked with them a few times. They're really great. So, absolutely get help where you can, so that it's not overwhelming.
I just love it. Tell Shana I'm old.
Right. I don't.
No, but I get it, and I see it with so many people, because it's hard for them to let go of some things, and so you need somebody else to come in and help you. You really do.
Yep.
All right, hold on, folks. We're out of time. I'm sorry. I can't take any more questions. But before we go, we're going to find out how you can find Shana and where they can look you up every single place. And I'm sure she'll be willing to answer the rest of your questions.
Absolutely. So you can reach out to me. I usually just to filter through, like if you DM me on Instagram, you can either do it to Shana Francesca or you can do it to Concinnate. Concinnate is where I'm going from live here. I might have to approve it before I reply to you because sometimes there's lots of weirdos in the DMs. So I, filter them out. But you can absolutely message me there. The faster way might be to email me. It's shana@consonate.world. Or you can go onto my website, www.consonate.world. The .world is important. My email and my phone number and everything are there. I'm most active actually on LinkedIn and on TikTok. Those are the places that I'm most active. I do post here on Instagram here and there, but I love the community and the conversation we get to have on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, reach out to me there. That's the best way. Just message me in a video.
Grandma says, tell her I think she's wonderful, but the TikTok's not going to work for me.
Okay, so grandma, just email me. It's Shana, SHANA, @Concinnate, CONCINNATE.world. Just email me and we'll go from there. That'll be so easy.
All right. I got something to say, people. For those of you who are saying I didn't see it from the beginning, calm down. When we're done here, I'm going to record it, and then we're going to put it on all the platforms. And Shane and I would really appreciate you sharing, rating it, and liking it.
Of course. I will absolutely put it on mine as well. Definitely.
Yeah. So it'll be great to go, and you can reach out to her whatever way, email, TikTok, DM. I'm sure she'll get back to you. Thank you so much for calling. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me, Sandy. I'll see you soon.
And I will see you
like an hour.
Yeah, I'll see you in like an hour, but you know what I'm going to say. Until next time. Toodles.
Bye.
Bye, Shana.
Bye.